That's what I lost. Please go ahead and join me for the national anthem. United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mr. Windscreen. Right hands, please.
Dear Heavenly Father, thank you again for all that you give us. Thank you for Rick and the leadership he's given us this year. Thank you for this club and what it means to so many of us in this room, but also what it means to people in our community and throughout this world. Thank you for service to self, service above self, and Lord, just help us to always be serving others that are much less fortunate than we are. You have blessed us so much. You blessed us with forgiveness of sins. You blessed us with eternal life and the Holy Spirit. Help guide us and help us to lean on that Holy Spirit each and every day. God is holy. Bless us with the nursing bodies and the bodies that serve.
I'm not going to try to be Terry. I realize right off the bat I can't be Terry. But Tom is, so I'm not going to try to do that. Birthdays today or this week: Chuck Jackson on the 28th and Lynn Miley on the 28th. Jim Matheny on the 29th, Valerie Russell on the 29th, Beth Haggard on the 30th, Starla Moss on the 3rd, Don Tomley on the 9th, Jackson Dennis on the 17th, and Lawrence Johnson on the 17th. So happy birthday. I think we have 4 anniversaries. We got Carol Peak and Brian on the 30th, Jerry Atkinson and Jane on the 6th, Kurt Davis and Regina on the 13th, and Mike Conway and Patricia on the 16th. So happy anniversary.
Mr. Brad Parrish, introduction of guests and visiting Rotary.
Good afternoon. We are happy to welcome our guests and visiting Rotarians today. When I call your name, please stand and remain standing until all visitors are recognized. First, we have Dr. J. Paul Maddox, guest of Paul Lee. Next, we have Brandon Shute, also a guest of Paul Lee. Micah Johnson, guest of Walter Hill. And Brandon Shiloh, guest of Walter Hill. All right, any other guests I may have missed? No? Okay, thank you all so much.
Ms. Catherine Hanson, the camp pastor. We got a winner last week. All right, 51 points. You're lucky today. It's a new day. You get a lot of choices. 0240 is the last 4. 0240. We got a winner.
I'm slow, no worries. Glad done go.
Six of diamonds. Thank you, sir. Next, I have a little reminder. No meeting on Veterans Day, but next week we're at the Peanut Festival. So we get some good. I know we have great food here too, but we'll get different food next week at the Peanut Festival. So I'll try to put it on the calendar online and try to send you emails out to remind everybody too, because I've been the one who showed up here. So I'll send a reminder out. Paul has asked we got a few minutes I want to give to we got some voting and things and politics going on next week. Brandon Shute come up and explain a little bit about amendments 1. Yes.
Thank y'all. Dr. Maxwell come here and join us up. I've been instructed not to get too political, so I'm going to try to stick to the facts. And the facts is this: Amendment 1 what it does is, it allows the county commission to have the final say so as to who goes on the healthcare authority, just like we have the final say so as to who goes on the airport authority, who goes on the library board, who goes on the Houston County Water Authority. That it does not mean that we will not work with the healthcare authority to find a suitable person that both people can be happy with. But what it does do is at the end of the day, county commission, not a commissioner, county commission of the final say so as to who goes on that authority. We think, I definitely believe that it will lead to improved relationships between the county commission, which is the people's elected representatives, and the healthcare authority. The ironic thing of all the stuff that's been said, like I said, we appoint the library and several others. I've been on the commission now for almost 10 years. I can't think of one time, and maybe there was and I'm not remembering, I can't think of one time where the county commission and the board has not gotten together and found somebody that was suitable. I mean, 99% of the time, I think you're just reappointing, ask us to do it out. We work well with all those boards. And I think the reason we work well is because at the end of the day, they probably know that if something comes up we have an issue with, we can have the ability to remove them from the board at the appropriate time. We would not, this will not allow us to say someone makes a vote or does something that we don't appreciate, that we don't like, we will not be able to just remove them at will. That's not what this allows us to do, but it does allow us to, every 2 years, we make appointments. Ultimately, like I said, the county commission has the final say so as to who goes on that board. The reason I'm extremely passionate about this is because, you elect us, a lot of you, if I do something that you don't like, you can vote me out of office, you can vote against me, that is your recourse. But, when you have a board that's not accountable, that can't be removed, and they're responsible for $7.25 million of property taxes that you have to pay every year, I think there has to be some kind of accountability for us to make sure they're spent properly. Did you have something you want to add that night?
Thank you for letting me come, for inviting me, Paul. I've practiced 43 years here. This is an amazing place for me and my family to practice medicine, and has been incredible. I'm blessed, as you know, to have 2 great hospitals, and I want to see that continue. I think strong leadership should not only allow, but should welcome dissenting opinions, maybe that aren't following exactly the narrative. And what I think this does is it maybe makes a chance for, let's say, not myself, but let's say a physician, I can think of a great female physician right now in my mind, to maybe be nominated for the board, who maybe doesn't necessarily follow every narrative and every initiative that the administration has. That's just another voice on the board that I think should be heard and addressed and maybe overcome with a good argument. But I don't think that is the case now. And so my support of Brandon and what they're doing is, I do think that they represent the people, and I think that they're accountable to the people. And to have 2 strong, healthy hospitals is very important. To have some sort of relationship between the Board of Commissioners and the board of the healthcare authority would be very important to me. Right now, there's no relationship like that. And so I'm in favor of this, even though you might say, well, wait a minute, this is government taking over healthcare. I don't see it that way. I see it as the people being involved in who serves or who is nominated. That's really what it is. I think it's who's nominated. Again, I appreciate both hospitals. I think both hospitals have done amazing things. I'm very grateful to them. But this particular area of having a fresh voice on that board, I think, is important to me. Thank you.
If y'all have any other questions, we'll be around afterwards.
Thank you, sir. And Joseph Johnson, he's got a little special announcement.
Thank you, President Rick. It is my honor today to recognize our next Paul Harris Fellow. Our next recipient grew up between Thomasville and Valdosta, Georgia, in Quitman, Georgia. And he graduated from the University of Georgia and is the biggest Dogs fan in this room. He knows who he is by now, because he's sitting behind me. He spent the next 26 years working in Washington, D.C. He worked his way up through the congressional ranks and worked his way up to be chief of staff, both for a congressman in Georgia and then for a congressman in North Carolina. While in Washington, he married his wife, the former Maggie Alford, who is with us in the back, who is from Dothan. They have been married for 33 years and have 3 boys, Campbell, Porter, and Henry. In 2013, Dean retired from his career with Congress, and Maggie and Dean moved back to Dothan. Shortly after their return to Dothan, Dean was hired as the executive director of the Chamber of Commerce. He worked there for 8 years until he was hired to be the executive director for Hudson-Alpha, which we'll hear a little bit more about in a minute. The reason Dean had such a successful career in DC is he developed this unique skill of quickly assessing situations, developing a plan, and then executing that plan. He brought those same skills to Dothan. And for those that have worked with Dean, and there are many of you in this room that have worked with Dean, and I know if Matt Parker were here, he would say the same thing. Dean's one of the best things that's ever happened to the Chamber and also to Dothan. When Hudson-Alpha made a decision to make its first huge investment outside of Huntsville, they needed a leader who would know how to connect people and get things done. They chose Dean. And we'll hear a little bit more about that in just a second. Dean is one of the most unselfish, behind-the-scenes kind of guys who never wants credit for the work that he does, but we all get to enjoy the results of his work. He is truly a service above self kind of guy. So, President Rick, it's my honor to present our next Paul Harris Fellow, my good friend, Dean Nick.
Maggie, can you come down, please? You can't stop there. The presentation of a Paul Harris Fellow is the Rotary's Foundation's way of expressing its substantial contribution to its humanitarian and educational program. This honor is named for Rotary's founder, Paul Harris, who started Rotary in 1905. In order to become a Paul Harris Fellow, a person must contribute $1,000 to the Rotary Foundation annual Polio Plus or an approved foundation grant. Dean, is because of gifts like yours that Rotary Foundation is able to carry out an array of programs that achieve beneficial changes to our world, such as increased food production, better education, and wider availability of treatment for the sick and disabled, to name a few. In becoming a Paul Harris Fellow, Dean joins a remarkable company of persons throughout the world, all recognized for their devotion to the federal the ideal of goodwill, peace, and understanding. Paul Harris said, "He who tries to find the good in others will be rewarded. For others who surely find the good in him. All the earth's sad and lonesome creatures, the most helpless he is who loves not his fellow man." Dean, at this time, Joseph Johnson will present you with the Paul Harris Fellow Certificate and Dean. We congratulate you and we thank you for your commitment to the programs of Rotary Foundation and Dothan in the Wiregrass. I'd like to invite everyone to rise and join me in recognizing the mentioned as the newest Paul.
Good, good.
We can just get started. I guess I don't have to intro for our speaker.
everybody knows who I am. Thank y'all. Thank y'all for having me. Before I do my presentation, I want to show a quick video that we're going to have a little bit of question and answer and give y'all an opportunity to test your knowledge about DNA. And if you have a scientific background, you cannot participate, okay? We want to test everybody's knowledge.
At Hudson-Alpha, creativity is in our DNA. It's how we are wired, and it's an essential key to understanding the complexity of life. Scientists worked for 13 years to sequence the first human genome. Now that we can produce highly detailed sequences in a matter of hours, Hudson-Alpha researchers are able to leverage their creativity to ask even deeper questions and move toward a healthier, more sustainable world. Hudson-Alpha is a nonprofit research institute in Huntsville, Alabama. Our founders envisioned a place where basic scientific research, economic development, and education come together to impact the life sciences and improve human health. To fulfill this mission, Hudson-Alpha created a new biotech model, placing for-profit companies of all sizes side by side with nonprofit researchers. Over 10 years later, with billions of dollars in economic income, the model is working. We are increasing our scientific understanding and decreasing the time to market, making it easier to get life-saving therapies and tests for those who need it. Hudson-Alpha researchers study those diseases that rob us of our loved ones and ourselves. Diseases like ALS, Alzheimer's, and cancer. We help those who have undiagnosed disease find answers in their DNA. We search for ways to increase crop yields and biofuel efficiency. Of all high-quality plant reference genomes that have been assembled, half were sequenced at Hudson-Alpha. With nearly all Alabama public schools using materials developed by Hudson-Alpha, our education team is inspiring the next generation of scientists. We educate the public so they can make more informed medical decisions and work to develop innovative public health strategies that will shape the future of our healthcare. Creativity is seeing what no one else sees. It's finding new ways to ask questions. It's looking for the connections that others have missed. It comes through persistence, refusing to stop, knowing that tomorrow's breakthroughs are at our fingertips. It's a deeper understanding of life. It's new targets for new therapies. It's hope, and hope is found at Hudson-Alpha.
Can anybody tell me what this is? Like, you can hear me, can't you? Talk loud. Okay. What is this? What is this? DNA what? Chief gets the peanut. This is the DNA double helix. Can anybody tell me what DNA stands for? Who said it? George? Troy? Deoxyribonucleic. This DNA molecule here, right? Why is DNA important?
Building block.
Building block tells us what?
Total hair you have if you had hair.
That's right. It's the instruction book for life, right? It tells organisms when to reproduce, when to grow, when to flourish. It differentiates me from Larry from Jason, right? Everybody got that? In this DNA molecule, there's something called base pairs. These little black and white and green and gray things here. Can anybody tell me what 4 letters of the alphabet go with each one of those base pairs? You're going to really have to revert back to your biology days here. You know, Chief? What? I know it's C. I heard it over there. Heard it. What? Somebody said TAC. ATGC. Close. All right. When we think about DNA, right? How many of those base pairs do you think are in a peanut? Yes. More. 6 million. 3 billion base pairs in one peanut. 3 billion. How many do you think's in bean?
5.
3 billion in a peanut, 3 billion in bean. Everybody knows what this is, right? Pine cone comes from a pine tree. How many base pairs do you think are in a pine tree? 23 billion. 23 billion. So what do we do at Hudson-Alpha? I get that question a lot, as you can imagine. Why are y'all here? What do you do? We use the power of DNA. We use the power of genomics to improve life. It's what we try to do. We'll walk you through that. Uh-oh. Paul, can you help me? Can you help me? What do we do? Who are we? Hudson-Alpha Institute is a nonprofit research institute that's based in Huntsville, Alabama. We use the power of genomics to try to improve life. We're based at Cummings Research Park, which is the 2nd largest research park in the United States. It's the 4th largest research park in the world. That's our home in Huntsville. Next. Hudson-Alpha Institute was founded by 2 gentlemen, Mr. Jim Hudson, who's on the left, and Mr. Lonnie McMillan on the right. On the left is our flagship building there on the campus, and on the right is the entire campus. We take up about 162 acres on Cummings Research Park. Jim Hudson was an entrepreneur. Jim Hudson got involved in the Human Genome Project, which you heard about in the video, and wound up selling some human genome products to that effort. Jim built a company. Jim wound up selling that company in Huntsville and made a lot of money. But unfortunately, the owners who bought the company from Jim decided, we're going to move that company to California. That frustrated Jim. A lot of families had to make a decision. I'm not going to stay in Huntsville. I'm going to move to California. His friend Lonnie McMillan, who's now deceased, started a company called AdTran. Remember how we used to have the dial-up modems? Lonnie was the inventor behind the dial-up modem. Obviously, a very successful entrepreneur as well. Jim and Lonnie had a passion for how can we take this information that we're finding out through the human genome effort? How can we supplement that to the biotech industry here in Huntsville, to rockets and science? How can we create sort of a new industry and create a model that's based in the nonprofit world of research, education, and economic development all working together? How can we take these scientific answers that are coming through the work of the human genome and apply them to the business? So they created Hudson-Alpha Institute for Biotechnology. Next. 3 key mission areas that Hudson-Alpha does: research, education, and economic development. And if you'll see, where we really work best is when the blue, the yellow, and the green circle all touch each other. We know that we have the opportunity to bring those 3 entities together, and when we can find the sweet spot where all 3, education, economic development, and genomic research are working together, that's when we really feel like we can move the needle. 4 key facts about Hudson-Alpha. We've secured over $310 million in federal research opportunities. We've reached over 15.2 million people with our educational programs. We published more than 1,100 publications from our scientists, and we've created an economic impact in the state of Alabama of $4.2 billion just in the last 16 years. So what is Hudson-Alpha Wiregrass? Hudson-Alpha Wiregrass is a partnership between the city of Dothan and the Institute. The Institute had been looking for a long time to step outside of its footprint in Huntsville and find a place where they could take the model of success that they had in Huntsville, research, education, economic development, using the power of DNA, and create another ecosystem. They had been courted by countries and companies all over the world. Thanks to the leadership of Mayor Saliba and our city commissioners, a partnership was formed. And I'll tell you the story. Mayor Saliba and I and Matt Parker got invited to a meeting Dr. Hearsink had 3 or 4 years ago. And when Hudson-Alpha's leadership was there, and they were talking about the work that they're doing and the impact that they were having in the North Alabama community. And when we walked out, Mayor Saliba said, you know, I've been to Hudson-Alpha. I've seen what they do. I wonder if there might be an opportunity for us to create a dialogue with them and see if a partnership here in the Wiregrass might work. So thankful to Matt's leadership and my work and other folks in this room for it, we started about a year-long dialogue with Hudson-Alpha. And fortunately, that created Hudson-Alpha Wiregrass. And thanks to the support of the Dothan City Commission, we opened our doors in December of 2022. 3 goals of Hudson-Alpha Wiregrass: expand the Wiregrass agri-science economy, use genomics assisting to improve plant breeding for our crops, and then spark student interest to develop careers in science and research. Goal number 1, expand the Wiregrass agri-science economy. Today's world population is 7 billion people. By the year 2050, it will be 10 billion people. That's 3 billion more people today, more people in 2050 than we have today. That's a lot of mouths to feed and a lot of entities to fuel. How are we going to do that? We're going to do that through technology. And that ag tech future is here, and it's here now. That market is worth about $24 billion currently, projected to be about $43 billion by the end of this decade. So technology, innovation, and entrepreneurship are going to be key to ensuring agriculture can continue to be successful. So when we talk about ag technology, what do I mean? I mean precision agriculture. I mean robotics. I mean sensors, plant data analysis, smart irrigation, and next generation farms. Business development, job creation, and entrepreneurial spirit is a huge part of what we're trying to do. We want to create an ecosystem in Dothan and the Wiregrass to expand upon the incredible economy we have. Matt and Colton do an incredible job, and Matt especially has spent 30 years diversifying this economy. Thanks to local leadership and state leadership, we really have an incredible economy that really has been able to withstand the normal drops and dips when the national economy goes down. But because we're diversified, we don't have all our eggs in one basket. One missing piece that we felt like we could bring to the table, Hudson-Alpha, was that research and science component. So that's what we're bringing to it. And if you take our strong agricultural background, if we can take some science and technology and apply that to agriculture, we feel like we can really help the farmers and help our agriculture community move forward. AgTech Accelerator Program is a program that Hudson-Alpha and Huntsville started about 2 years ago. And they take applications from small AgTech entities all over the world. Their first class, they had, I think, 400 or 500 applications. They wound up taking 5 companies for 3 different classes, and 15 companies have gone through that accelerator program. What happens is those entities come to Huntsville, they spend about 12 weeks in Huntsville, they learn about all aspects of growing their business. As y'all can imagine, a lot of times these entrepreneurs only have one specialty. They know the science, they know the technology. They don't know about marketing, they don't know about accounting, they don't know about the legal aspects, they don't know about the day-to-day operation of running a business. So we spend that 12 weeks trying to get them integrated into all aspects that it takes to run a business. Let me tell you a little bit about a couple of the companies that we've had some success with. Saditech was in the second class in Huntsville. Saditech is a company that's based out of Miami, Florida. They take chicken feathers, moringa tree leaf, and human hair and turn it into 2 products. A biostimulant for the home and garden market that would compete against Miracle-Gro. They also have a new product called Deer Wall. Deer predation, where deer eat crops, is a huge problem in our area. Before the crops can get up, the deer are out in the field eating them. And so we brought them to the Wiregrass. They set an operation in Ozark. They are distributing and marketing their product out of this community. Next is AgTech Logic. AgTech Logic is a company that's based out of Phoenix, Arizona. They have a piece of equipment that can be put on the existing part of a tractor and go across a field and tell the pesticide or the insecticide that's in the fertilizer tank, the tank, when to spray, when not to spray. So it's obviously saving the farmers money controlling the environment better, and a win-win. And then next is Sentinel Fertigation. Sentinel Fertigation. Sentinel Fertigation is owned by Jack Stanton. Many of y'all know Jack. Jack spoke at this Rotary Club a couple of years ago. Jack grew up in Dothan. Jack went to Harvard and played football at Dothan, played football at Harvard. Then Jack went to the University of Nebraska and started an ag tech company because he loves agriculture and engineering. And Jack has a company called Sentinel Fertigation. They use satellites to help determine how much nitrogen should be put into farmland. They have a really cornered the market in Nebraska and have been able to expand that opportunities. And Jack recently moved back to Dothan. Terry used to be a member of this club, and Jack moved back for some family reasons, but also he moved back because he saw an opportunity with all the important work that's going on in downtown Dothan to be a part of that, and hopefully be a part of the Hudson-Alpha wiregrass ecosystem. And Jack is doing great work, and he's had set up office in the Porter Hardware store in downtown Dothan. So it's really nice to see Jack come home and set up his operation and hopefully grow his small company here in the wiregrass. Navigate is another business support program that we've created. It's based off a program out of the Massachusetts Institute of Technology. It's where you take entrepreneurs, local entrepreneurs, and you pair them with business leaders in your community. And it's a board of advisors that provides the entrepreneur with help on challenges that he or she may be having. It's a non-paid position. And so we've been very fortunate to already recruit about 5 or 6 of those local entrepreneurs here in the Wiregrass to participate in our Navigate program. We got about 15 local business people that are taking time out of their day to meet with those entrepreneurs and help them solve problems. So again, it's really trying to grow that ecosystem and help entrepreneurs get to that next level. Goal number 2 is using genomics-assisted breeding and selection to improve crops. This is Dr. Josh Clevenger. Josh is one of the world's leading plant breeders, and Josh has a real passion for peanuts. And obviously, the Wiregrass is known for our peanuts. And so Josh has spent a lot of time here in the Wiregrass. Next one. Y'all know the facts about peanuts. 50% of all peanuts grown within a 100-mile radius of Dothan are grown in the Wiregrass. So we're real pleased about that. Obviously, with the Peanut Festival come up, we've had a long history of celebrating the peanut farmers, how much they mean to their economy. Josh works with peanut projects all over the world. And Josh is fortunate to really have a passion for peanuts, because peanuts can be so important for not only farmers, but for nutrition all over the world. And we're fortunate to have Josh committed to helping develop a new peanut cultivar. Speaking of that new peanut cultivar, we just planted our first peanut cultivar at the Wiregrass Research Station in Headland. We took what we're calling the Wiregrass peanut, and I'll get to that in just a minute, but we put it in the ground against 9 other current cultivars that are already on the market. We just harvested that peanut last week, and we'll be comparing the variety and comparing the yield and the traits of that peanut to those 9 varieties that are currently on the market, with the goal to get that Wiregrass peanut on the market competing against the current varieties. We've also created a Hudson-Alpha Wiregrass Research Genomics Lab here in Dothan, the first of its kind. We're out of the Houston County Career Academy, and our lab manager, Abby Burke, is doing great work. Goal number 3, sparking student interest in agri-science and genomics. Obviously, if we're going to create that ecosystem here, we're going to create opportunities for additional jobs, additional opportunities. We have to have the workforce to do that. And that takes time, that takes effort, and it's not something that you can just hire for off the street. So what we've done is created a program to start sparking an interest in our local high school students to hopefully get some of those folks interested in science, interested in research, interested in genomics, and interested in staying and living here in the Wiregrass. Our Wiregrass Peanut Project is the only plant breeding program in the entire world that's being driven by high school students. Let me tell you how that works. So we are in 10 high schools across the Wiregrass in biology classes or agri-science classes, and each one of the students in that class gets a peanut. All right, and they plant that peanut in a little pod. About 3 weeks later, they come back, they punch a hole in the peanut leaf, and they extract the DNA from the peanut leaf. It's something called a micropipette. It's a 31-step protocol that those students go through to extract that DNA. College level students are doing that at Auburn. And we have high school students, Dothan High and Carver 9, and many of the Houston County high schools doing that work. It's being done at the college level. We have our Wiregrass students doing that. And I have to tell y'all, I have been to every single class. I have seen every one of these students, and they are engaged, they're attentive, they're enjoying it. And oftentimes our kids get a really bad rap. And I've seen it firsthand. These kids are loving it. Now, some of them won't ever take a biology class beyond high school, and that's okay. But some of them, I can tell you, are going to be in the research field. They are going to be in the science field. And we all know we need more people like that to do work here or wherever, because science and research is so, so important. Again, we're in these 10 high schools all throughout the area, and we'll continue to expand that. We also have created a program called Hudson-Alpha U. It's important for all of us to understand about genomics and DNA and why it's important. It's important for us to understand how it can be applied to human health and how it can be applied to plant health. That takes us taking the initiative to go to events, but it also takes experts being able to explain it in a way that those of us without scientific backgrounds can understand it. That's what Hudson-Alpha U is. We have an event next Monday at 11 o'clock at the Dothan Houston County Library to discuss some recent discoveries in genomics and plant opportunities. We've had educator workshops. Obviously, we need teachers to continue to be trained, to be able to use the latest in examples that they can show their students. So we do educator workshops all over the state of Alabama. We've had summer camp activities where students can extract DNA from a kiwi or from a strawberry, and again, learn why it's so, so important. As you can tell, 2023 was a very busy year for Hudson-Alpha Wiregrass. We traveled all over the country, learning about opportunities in that ag tech space, learning about opportunities that we may be able to recruit here to Dothan and the Wiregrass, and again, spreading our message about what our efforts are here in Dothan. We've also expanded now to a timber genetic research program. Y'all know forestry is a huge, huge important aspect of our economy. And if we can identify the genes in that large pine tree, and we can help make it be an important surveillance tool in the supply chain, that's a huge step for growers, for buyers, for people that own mills. And so we're really excited about the work that we're doing there. We've already developed partnerships with several local timber companies and look forward to those results here in the next year. Summer student programs. We had our first summer camps. We had Code of Life for middle school. We had Jeans and Greens for 10th and 12th graders. Kelly Pilot's daughter is there on the right. Presley enjoyed it immensely, and Presley wants to be an employee of Hudson-Alpha Wiregrass in the future. And again, it's those kind of opportunities that we're trying to create. We also have internships for college students. We had 4 this past summer that used their skill set to work for local companies all over the Wiregrass. Again, trying to give students an opportunity to learn some real world opportunities. This is the Wiregrass Innovation Center. Thanks to Representative Lee and the Wiregrass delegation, the Troy Mountain and the Wiregrass Foundation, this will be a brand new 45,000 square foot building in downtown Dothan. Hudson-Alpha will be the major tenant of that building. We will be on the first 2 floors. There'll be ample space for companies to come to Dothan. There'll be office space. There'll be wet lab space. There'll be activities that we will do to help those entrepreneurs learn about our area, to learn about opportunities, and to build into that ecosystem that we feel like we need to create. Again, what's going to happen at the Wiregrass Research Center? One cool thing, we will have what we consider to be the first rooftop greenhouse in the area. We're excited about that, about a 400 square foot greenhouse research facility be on top of it. But we'll have programs to help these entrepreneurs, to help scientists, to help build that ecosystem, strengthen it, and provide opportunities for local communities. We're very active on social media. If y'all like to get my newsletter, my text updates, let me know. I'll be glad to add you to that list. We have a community engagement committee, and thank you for those who serve on that. That's an opportunity for us to continue to get feedback from people in the community on the work we're doing, challenges and opportunities that we need to be aware of. And then finally, let me close it out with this. This is our why. This is Abby Birch. Abby grew up in Cottonwood. Abby's mama worked at Rehoboth lunch program. Abby's daddy drives a truck from McLean. Abby's one of us. Abby was the valedictorian of our high school at Rehoboth. Abby went to Troy and got a BS in biology. She moved back to Dothan. And Abby went to work for a pediatrician lab facility. When this opportunity came up for Hudson-Alpha Wiregrass, I was talking to Colton about it, and I said, we really need to hire a Wiregrass lab mate. Colton said, I got somebody on the big talk to Abby Birch. She's smart. She's in this world. So Dr. Clevenger and I interviewed Abby. The last question we asked Abby was this: why do you want to work for Hudson-Alpha Institute for Biotechnology? And she said, I love Dothan. I love the Wiregrass, but I don't want to move to Huntsville. I don't want to move to Boston. I don't want to move to Los Angeles or Austin. I want to live here. That's why we're doing this, to provide opportunities for the Abbeys of the world, so they don't have to move away, so they can stay here, so they can have opportunities to grow and to thrive here. And to put a cherry on top, Abby is now pursuing her PhD in plant breeding at the University of Georgia, just like Dr. Clevenger did. So it's come full circle. And I told Abby, when it's really going to be great is when you hire the next Abby. When she's a Dr. Birch, she's in a position of leadership, and she's running the Wiregrass Research Lab, and she hires the next student from Cottonwood or Rehoboth or Dothan High or wherever it might be. Then we will have done our job. I'll be glad to take any questions.
What's the timeline on the building? Where will it be?
The building will be right next to the Wiregrass Museum of Art. And if you drive by there today, they are under construction, and it will open in January of 26.
So how many employees will you initially have?
We have 6 right now. My guess is we'll probably get up to 12 or so. But really, our focus is about building that ecosystem and building that economy of research and companies that want to come to Dothan, come to the Wiregrass because of our strong agricultural background, and help farmers with technology, help farmers figure out a way to improve their crop production and battle the challenges that they're facing. Yes, Troy?
How can we, I don't mean necessarily Rotary, just as citizens and people in the community, kind of get behind and help support the work you're doing?
Thank you. I'm sure people get questions. I don't understand what Hudson-Alpha is. I have no idea what they're doing here. Why are we spending this money? Blah, 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 all that kind of stuff. Have them call me. Y'all can find me or follow us on social media. We're very active on social media, so that's a very good way. And if you hear opportunities for any of us to come speak about the work that we're doing, we'd love to do that as well.
What will be the next step with the peanut that you're waiting for the results on? If it turns out good, will that be an opportunity for our local farmers to take advantage of?
It's a great question. So the last peanut cultivar to come to the market was a peanut called AU-17. You can imagine what that means. Auburn University, 2017. Getting a peanut from with new varieties and new genomics to the marketplace takes a long time, especially if it's in a research-based institution. I love Auburn. I love the University of Georgia, but we know how universities can be. That process generally takes about 12 to 15 years to get a peanut from where it started to the marketplace. We're trying to cut that down to about 4 or 5 years. So, yes, sir. What will happen next is we will look at the genetics of this peanut. We'll figure out where the superpowers are, where the Achilles heels, and then we'll try to do another back crossing, which means another breeding with another good variety to keep that process going. And we would hope to have a new peanut on the market in the next 3 to 4 years, looking at specific disease challenges that wiregrass farmers face and obviously looking at drought tolerance.
Tomatoes are a big product in this area. Any effort in working with the tomato farmers?
I'm not aware of any, but it's certainly something that we do. We have, at Hudson-Alpha, we have 12 faculty investigators. Those are the PhDs. 6 of those work on human health issues, and 6 of them work on agricultural issues. And I know that they've done a lot of work on blueberries, they've done work on apples, they've done work on hemp. So tomatoes would actually be another one. And I saw an article today about some challenges with outdated onion mistakes. So that may be another opportunity. But again, it's those kind of opportunities that we want to be able to bring here to be able to use the genomics, use the power of DNA, try to improve that.
What about peanut allergies? What are y'all doing? That particular issue.
So I'm not I don't have a PhD, but what the folks tell me is that's really not going to be solvable. There's too many variables within the peanut that contribute to allergies, and that's not anything that we're going to be able to solve. Alpha toxin is another huge issue that farmers face. Skunk might be an issue. Those are the ones that we're looking at. But allergies is going to be tough.
How are you being perceived by the farmers?
Farmers are skeptical. Micah knows them well. There's a farmer too sitting next to him. Farmers are conservative. Farmers want to understand, how's this going to solve a problem for me on my farm? So that's about developing relationships. It's about having conversations. Thanks to Micah, we're doing that. Thanks to Chris Parker at the Wiregrass Research Station, we're doing that. So yes, it's a slow go, but it's hopefully something that we're going to be able to show them that when we have a product that works well for them, then hopefully that will be more positive.
About how many volunteers, or do y'all have volunteers that help with all these programs when you go into the schools, or go here or go there?
We welcome people to come to all of our programs and see. We going into the schools is really a unique opportunity to see those kids. At this point, we haven't really engaged volunteers. We've had enough staff to do that, but always love for people to help us anyway. Thank y'all. Good to be with
And congratulations again. Thank you for. Again, next week, where are we going next Monday? And then November 11th, Veterans Day. There you go. Some good news I just want to pass on, and I might be calling you for the next few months. I might need to get a night job. My daughter got the games Friday. So, telling me how much it's going to cost us, and so I might be hanging out with y'all somewhere somehow. Yeah, thank y'all. Look forward to seeing everybody at the Pink Festival. Weekend, let's get it. Well, the things we think, say, and do.
Is it the truth? Is it a false?
Yes, sir.
He said, what do you want Doug to do? But I. Every verse they talk about, you know.